Today we're going to be talking about the truth teller and why it's so painful to be the one that tells the truth in a family system. So truth tellers are often end up being the scapegoat in a family system. The scapegoat is the member of the family that carries the wounds of the family or carries the shame of the family. What I mean by that is that when you come from a toxic family, the core of the family is denial. We don't talk about our sister who has a drug addiction, or we don't talk about the fact that mommy's brother is married to a woman who is having an affair with Uncle Jack, and Uncle Jack is married. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about the fact that mommy is popping pills and daddy is an alcoholic, or that there is an affair happening in the house. We don't talk about these things in our family. It's like hush, hush, hush. We don't talk about when we see people being abusive in the family. We're not allowed to talk about that. So in a toxic family system, basically the issue is denial, right? It's there, it's the elephant in the room, but the adults in the room don't know how to handle it. They don't have the life skills or the coping skills to deal with it, to face it head on. They wouldn't know what to do if they did face it. They sort of like stick their head in the sand and think, well, if we're not talking about it, it doesn't really exist. How bizarre and how ridiculous that is. Now, if you're the truth teller in the family, you see that. You know that Uncle Mike is off his rocker. You know that this affair thing, we should be talking about it. You know that the drug addiction in the family is not something that we should be ignoring. We should be able to talk about this stuff. But when you come from this type of a family system, you're not allowed. You will be seen as the problem child. You will be seen as the one who is rocking the boat. This has followed me my entire life. It followed me into my first marriage where I was like, am I in the twilight zone? Like, this should not be happening. Like, your mother shouldn't be talking about every daughter-in-law the minute she goes off to the bathroom. Or your mother shouldn't be pulling me to the side, speaking negatively about the other sister-in-law and trying to drive a wedge between the two of us. That shouldn't be happening. And when I brought things like this to the attention of my ex, I was seen as a problem. I was seen as someone who was just negative. I like to rock the boat. And my perception of reality was distorted. And because I grew up in a home where my sense of reality was really annihilated by my family system, where I was consistently told that I was crazy, that I was a drama queen, that I was just looking for attention, that the way that I saw things was wrong. And so when you come from that childhood experience where your inner reality is dependent upon what other people say, and you really never have a right to form a relationship with your emotions and a relationship with your perception of reality, a relationship with your perceptions. You're never allowed to form that relationship. When that is your base, when that is your subconscious reality, you grow up and you have a problem, or it's difficult for you to trust what you see. And so if you're a truth teller on top of this, then you are built to see things. You can't unsee them. And now on top of it, you have this scapegoat thing happening from childhood where you've been taught to think that you're the problem in the family because you tell the truth. And you're the scapegoat. So rather than us talk about Uncle Mike, we're talking about how you flunked a test. Or we're talking about some little thing that you did like 10 years ago that the family can't get over. But the idea is that the family is focusing on you because you're not going along with the family system. Truth tellers are the strong members of the family. Truth tellers are people in society that we need because truth tellers help us become better versions of ourselves if we let them. Truth tellers change the world. They get out there eventually if you hold on to yourself and you don't let a relationship pull you down, or you don't allow your family to pull you down, you don't allow the negative self-talk to pull you down. You really honor yourself and you trust yourself, and you navigate the world in such a way where you start navigating towards things that feel right, people that feel right, relationships that feel right. And you start attracting people into your life that actually can tolerate your truth. It's not easy for someone who lives below the veil of consciousness to hang out with a truth teller. I've had this situation where I have had to tone myself down. I absolutely know that there are some people in my life that I can't tell the truth to because it would hurt them and they're not ready to hear it. And I don't want to throw that relationship under the bus. I'd rather just support them where they are. And if and when they ever want to talk to me or ask me my opinion, then I will offer my opinion. But before I really appreciated who I was and I saw myself as someone who could see through the veil, before I could really appreciate that, then the way that I came off sometimes was kind of backwards or sideways or upside down. It was just, I would just bluntly say what I thought was happening. Like, hey, Uncle Mike is like all over Aunt Susie. That's wrong, right? So it was, and everybody would just like, what is going on with her? Like, Lisa, shh, 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 shh. These days, I tell the truth to myself. So now I discern, are you awake or are you not awake? Do you want to hear the truth? Do you not want to hear the truth? Will you reject what I'm saying or will you accept what I'm saying? And so now I have a lot more control over how I tell the truth and how I show up in life. My emotions are no longer all over the place, reacting to what Uncle Mike is doing, or what Aunt Susie's doing, or Uncle Jack's doing, what Mom's doing, what Dad's doing, my brother's doing. It's not happening like that for me anymore. It's like I have so much more emotional regulation because I finally realized that not being part of a sick family system or being the one who says this is a sick family system is actually healthy. I remember when I was in therapy and one of the comments that my therapist said like changed my life. We were talking about how in my family and even my ex's family, I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like an alien. And I would say things like, they think I'm crazy. I feel crazy. Like, I don't think like them. And he said to me, well, do you like the way they think? Do you like the way they show up in the world? And I said, well, no, not particularly. And he said, so that's a good thing that they think you're crazy, because to them, you are crazy. You're not thinking like them. And it was a bit of a head scratcher because I was like, wait, what did he just say? Like, what? This is a good thing that I'm ostracized. This is a good thing that they're calling me names. This is a good thing that we don't see eye to eye. Turned out it was. But there's this process that we have to go through, this grieving process as scapegoats and truth tellers, where we have to really grieve the family that we never had. We have to grieve the relationships that our truth telling is going to cause to have turmoil in. So we have to grieve what we wish we could have, but our nature prevents us from having. And you don't want to backtrack. In other words, like, you don't want to stuff your feelings and think that you're wrong and live a life of complete confusion. You want to know that what you think is right and you are a truth teller, and you want to know that when you're looking at a family system that can't handle the truth, they don't want your truth, it's actually a good thing that you're outside that aquarium. Because to exist in that aquarium, you would have to drink the Kool-Aid. You would have to be like them. And that's not why you're here as a truth teller. My life changed when I said namaste and I accepted my family didn't want to hear about codependency. My parents didn't want to learn about adult children of alcoholic issues. They didn't want to understand how their childhood had affected them. They weren't ready. They didn't want to go there. I think it was because they just didn't want to have to take on the responsibility of knowledge and information. You know, once you take on this knowledge, once you take on this information, once you see yourself as codependent, you have a responsibility then to fix it. But before you can see a second road, you really can't be blamed for being who you are and doing what you do, because there's no other path before you. So I think in my parents' case, they just didn't want to know about it. I don't want to talk about it. Then I might actually have to recognize how I treated my daughter or treated my son. I have to recognize that I did pick on her. I did make her the scapegoat. I did resent her for telling the truth. And they just weren't mature enough to do that. That's fine, because being their daughter actually caused me to challenge myself. And because I was forced to challenge myself, I know what I'm capable of. I know that I can live without them. I know that I can love myself in spite of them. I know that I can love myself and honor myself and know my truth despite what other people say. Because of all the challenges that I've faced, a number of smear campaigns that I've dealt with professionally as well as personally, because I went through that fire, I know what I'm capable of now. So the challenge served me. I'm stronger than ever. I'm more resilient than ever. I don't particularly like challenges. I don't particularly like having to go through certain things. I don't particularly like when someone rocks my boat because I'm a truth teller. I don't particularly enjoy that, but every time something like that has happened, it's really allowed me the opportunity to grow beyond that limit, beyond that comfort zone, and to discover what I'm capable of. So my life has served me, and I hope that your life is serving you. And I hope that if you are a truth teller and you end up being the family scapegoat, that you, like me, end up realizing that that's not a bad thing. The fact that you can identify what is unhealthy, the fact that you can call it out, the fact that you know what is true, means that you're far more mentally healthier than the person who is actually drinking that Kool-Aid and who refuses to see the truth. Because the reality is, the truth sets you free. Even if it's painful, especially when it's painful, the truth sets you free. Me acknowledging my codependency, me becoming more emotionally responsible, me taking total responsibility for my happiness and my sadness, and me healing the wounds of childhood, even though I didn't create them, really helped me become who I am today. And that truth, the truth that I wasn't always the best mom, the truth that I wasn't always the best friend, the truth that I had a lot of shadows that needed to be healed and they needed to come to the light. I had a lot of shame that I had to work through. Facing all of that was really difficult, but it set me free. We come here to learn, we come here to grow, and part of that growth is accepting our flawed self, accepting our shadow self. And if you're a truth teller, chances are that you're going to have a much greater chance at healing and recovery than someone who lives in denial. So rock on, dear one, rock on. Don't change, just be you. Hey, if you love this content, don't forget to check out the next video, and you can go to my website and take the codependency quiz.